Welcome to another video from Dr. Lock. So we have two cylinders here, and we want to make it so if you use the wrong key, or if somebody tries to pick your lock, the lock jams up. That would be the best case scenario. The downside to this is that there's a possibility you might need to drill your lock out if somebody comes along and starts messing with your lock. On the upside, they might not get in. So let's just have a look at these two locks here. So this lock here works with a key. Put the key in, take the key out. No problems, everything's working. Once again, I've made two of them because we're going to test these two. It's moving on the back. We're going to test these two locks now. So they work perfectly with the key, no problems. The first test I'm going to be doing is using a completely different key. So let's put that in there and see what happens. We put the key in, take the key out, put the key in. It's not working. Of course it's not working, it's the wrong key. What happens with our standard key now? That doesn't work. Okay, so it's created a lockout situation because the wrong key was used. Now let's take this cylinder once again. This is my second one, working, everything working, everybody agrees. Now let's try picking it. Let's see what happens when we pick it. And there we go, it's jammed up as well. Now let's try the original key and see if it actually still works. And no, the original key doesn't work. So this is a clear indicator of the lock jamming up when it's been manipulated with. Let's go in and see how this is done. Okay, so let's get started. Let's do this. So the first thing we've got to do is take our cylinders apart. So I'm going to do it twice here. So that way we can try it in both scenarios. One, I'm going to be using the wrong key, and the other one I'm going to try picking. So I'm just taking the cam screws off the back of the cylinder, two little screws, and we're using here what we call in the industry a 570 cylinder, used very commonly on office stores. Now I need to get them open, so I'll just give it a quick pick. Pretty miserable pick gun. My needle is bent like a banana. See that? She's bent. Still worked okay on that one. Okay. Cylinders are not the best. They're two crusty cylinders I just got out of the cylinder bin. Alright, let's do this. Let's push it through. Okay, we're going to drop all the pins. And we're going to do 2 on 1 follower, drop the pins. So here is the key that I want it to be, so I'm quickly going to pin that up. What was my code? That's right. I did it a nice easy code just to make it easy. Just the pins. There's 6 pins, I only count 5 of those pins. Okay, fine. Okay, so we've got 2 cylinders keyed up to this key here. Oh, I dropped one. Maybe I dropped 2. Nope, we're good. Okay, so the next thing we need to do now is drop our 6th driver pin and spring, leaving the other 5 in there still functioning and still working. There's our spring. And I shouldn't have used the same follower, but I did. I'm just going to transfer one over so I can do the same on the first cylinder. Oh, we're getting stuck here. Okay, got it. Okay, dropping the 6th, and it's spring as well, thanks. Okay, so it's clear. Okay, here's where the magic comes in. So we want to use a pin that's not too big, not too small. So I'm going to go for a 6. 2 6 pins. Now what we want to do is we want to create a burr, or basically deform the last pin. So to do that I'm going to try just using pliers. Okay, here we go. Squeeze! I felt a bit of give there. To know whether or not it's successful or not, I can put it back into the plug and just see how it actually moves. Okay, not successful. Still moves too freely. Okay, so I've done 4 of them, just in case I lose one. So basically I just panned the pin out a little bit and made it so it was tight going in the cylinder. So if I was to turn this over now, they wouldn't come out. So now I've got them in my plug and I know they're about the right size. I actually need to get them out of the... so let's give it a small tap. Now I can pull it out. So they're not exactly right, but I reckon they'll do the job. So there it is there. By all rights, when the cylinder is in normal motion and the keyway is facing up the right way, when you put this key in and out, it's going to affect the first 5 pins but not the 6th. When we put in the wrong key or try and pick it, it's going to affect that 6th pin, as you can see there, and that's what we'll be doing our locking or our security locking. Now, because the 6th chamber doesn't have a spring and a driver pin to apply pressure to push that back down, it's going to stay up. So if somebody tries to mess with this cylinder, it's going to jam up, resulting in possibly needing to drill this cylinder out. Okay, let's put it back together. Let's put our cam on the back because I want to simulate using it many times to show you the theory. So put these 2 little cam screws in there. These 2 cam screws and the cam on the back just stops the actual key pulling the plug out, meaning that when I pull the key back, it's not going to pull all the pins and springs aren't going to go flying. That's a good thing. So I just put them on there quickly. Okay, so there's one cylinder done we're happy with. Now there's this one. Now I did just hit these with a hammer a few times and they're not exactly right. Like I can feel that one there just has too much pressure. So I went a bit crazy on the hammer. So I'm just going to try and squeeze it back the other way with the pliers to reduce it a little bit. Okay, so to be honest with you, it was pretty tricky to distort the pin and get it tight enough to stay in the up position and also still allow the key to go in and feel like a normal lock. But it was doable, and I've got one in the 6th chamber here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put all these pins that I dropped now back in, and then we are going to give it a test and see how it goes. So just putting the couple of last pins in now. Too low. Cylinder, and I'll put the cam on the back. Okay, so in conclusion, yes, you can build your lock to be more, how do you say, temperamental. It's a bit like that kid who owns a soccer ball and everyone's playing soccer until he gets the shits and then says, I'm taking my ball and going home. This chubby pin idea is pretty much the same scenario. If you activate the chubby pin at the back, you're pretty much going to jam your lock up. You do have the option of getting a pick down the back and hoping for the best and trying to grab that last pin and seeing if that will reset. But most of the time, you won't be able to grab that pin, and most of the time won't reset, so you'll end up having to drill your lock. You can try tapping it as well if you can get the cylinder open, if you can get the cylinder out, but even that, oh, there we go, we got it, even that sometimes isn't a viable option when it's actually in the housing of the lock. It is something that can be done. It did take me a little bit of time to actually distort the last pin into a shape that could move up and down freely enough when you put the key in so you wouldn't feel it, but it did take a little bit of work. I hit it about 6 or 7 times with a hammer, and it actually, was that. And then I filed a little bit on the edges and rounded it around, and that seemed to work. But for most people, when they come home and they put their original key in the lock and it jams up, it's not really a good thing. It might have prevented the other person from jiggling keys, or it might give you the indication that somebody's mucking around with your lock, but you're still going to take a drill to get the lock open afterwards. So that's my look at a chubby pin, and it's not really a technique that's used because you're ending up having to drill your locks open, but by all rights it'll tell you whether or not somebody's been trying to pick your lock, and it'll also tell you if somebody's been using a wrong key in the lock. It won't tell you if somebody's been using a 5-pin key in the lock because it won't activate the chubby pin. So it's more or less for picking or jiggling and things along those lines. So that's what I call the chubby pin experience. Leave your comments down below, and thanks for watching.